Today, we're examining another tragic incident. On June 5, 2002, 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart was asleep in her Federal Heights home in Salt Lake City, Utah. Sharing a room with her sister Mary Catherine, their peace was abruptly shattered. In the dead of night, a quiet intruder armed with a knife entered through the girl's window. Mary Catherine, awakened by the intrusion, feigned sleep to protect her sister. The man, commanding Elizabeth's silence under threat, coerced her outside after she hastily put on shoes. Mary Catherine waited for 2 agonizing hours before arousing her parents, Ed and Lois Smart, with the news of Elizabeth's abduction. Initially met with disbelief, their concern escalated upon finding evidence of a break-in. Alerted by the Smarts, authorities swiftly intervened, launching a search aided by Mary Catherine's description of the abductor. Despite her harrowing ordeal, she recognized his voice as oddly familiar, but struggled to place it. The Rachel alert system was activated, broadcasting Elizabeth's disappearance to the public. Meanwhile, investigators explored various leads, including those associated with the Smart family's recent house tours and online activity. Ed Smart's impassioned plea on national television echoed the family's desperate plea for Elizabeth's safe return. Despite a community-wide search effort and substantial rewards offered, progress remained elusive, leaving authorities grasping for leads in Elizabeth's mysterious disappearance. The police's frustration grew as they encountered obstacles in Elizabeth's case. Scott Atkinson, captain of the Salt Lake City Police Department, emphasized that everyone was under scrutiny, except Elizabeth's family, who remained outside the focus of investigation. A volunteer among the 1,200 searchers alerted police to a suspicious individual spotted in a wooded canyon during the search for Elizabeth. The volunteer reported the man's suspicious behavior, prompting an extensive overnight search by the police. Despite their efforts, they failed to locate the individual, leading them to dismiss the tip as unreliable. Another tip, this time from a local milkman in Federal Heights, described seeing a man driving an older gray Honda or Nissan on Elizabeth Street shortly before Elizabeth's disappearance. Despite the milkman's intuition and diligence in recording the license plate number, the police found no relevant information when searching their vehicle database. Consequently, they deemed the tip inconclusive. The influx of individuals at the Smart residence post-abduction posed a significant challenge to the investigation, potentially compromising any evidence present. Although police questioned a man who had interacted with Elizabeth before her disappearance, they ultimately ruled out any connection to the case. Despite efforts including aerial searches and tracking dogs pointing to Red Butte Canyon yielding no results, Elizabeth's father, Ed Smart, remained resolute, even after collapsing from exhaustion during the search. Ed and Lois Smart's exhaustion didn't deter their unwavering hope for Elizabeth's safe return, expressed through media interviews and a heartfelt plea to their daughter. The family's cooperation extended to Ed, willingly taking a polygraph test, demonstrating their commitment to aiding the investigation. Mark Klaas, who had experienced a similar tragedy, offered support and insights to the Smart family, emphasizing the importance of internet outreach in disseminating Elizabeth's information. Information about a sighting of Brett Michael Edmonds in Federal Heights around the time of Elizabeth's abduction added another lead to the investigation. Detectives pursued Brett for questioning based on received information, but were unable to locate him. It was discovered that Brett had moved to New Mexico and Texas. After a pursuit, a man resembling Brett was apprehended at a department store on charges of auto theft and shoplifting. However, he was later cleared of any connection to Elizabeth's case, despite physical similarities. Subsequently, Brett was located in West Virginia, hospitalized due to an overdose and liver failure. Although critically ill, he was coherent, allowing for questioning by police and FBI agents. However, he was cleared as a suspect in Elizabeth's abduction. Attention then turned to Richard Albert Ritchie, aged 48. Elizabeth's father, Ed Smart, revealed Richard had been employed at their home for 2 months the previous year, during which Ed had given Richard his 1990 Jeep Cherokee in exchange for labor. Unaware of Richard's extensive criminal history, Ed expressed regret over hiring him. Richard's criminal record, spanning decades, included convictions for burglary, theft, and aggravated robbery with attempted murder. Paroled in September 2000, Richard was arrested on a parole violation on June 14, 2002, but his whereabouts on the day of Elizabeth's abduction could not be confirmed. Richard denied involvement in Elizabeth's abduction, cooperating fully with authorities, providing DNA samples, and enduring extensive interviews. Despite a thorough search of his property, no evidence linking him to Elizabeth's case was found. In July, a reported sighting of a girl matching Elizabeth's description in Nebraska raised hopes, but the investigation concluded it was unrelated. The Smart family, while disappointed, remained hopeful, acknowledging the challenges of false leads. Their optimism, though cautious, persisted as they awaited Elizabeth's safe return, keeping an open mind amidst emotional turmoil. The family spokesperson expressed, "We're not necessarily holding out hope it is Elizabeth. If it is Elizabeth, we'd be elated." Meanwhile, Richard Ricci, the main suspect in Elizabeth's disappearance, faced charges of theft and burglary, to which he pleaded not guilty. These charges stemmed from incidents involving residences in the Federal Heights neighborhood and the Smart family home. Richard Ricci was accused of burglary and theft in two separate incidents, stealing items from a Federal Heights house on April 4, 2001, and robbing items from the Smart house on June 6, 2001. However, the stolen items were unrelated to Elizabeth's abduction investigation. Salt Lake District Attorney David Yoakum announced the charges, stating that stolen items from the Smart house included jewelry and a perfume bottle valued at approximately $3,500. When confronted by Ed Smart, Richard Ricci denied the allegations and was subsequently terminated. Unfortunately, the investigation suffered a significant setback on August 22nd when Richard Ricci passed away from a severe brain injury causing hemorrhaging. Despite efforts to save Ricci's life, his condition deteriorated, and he ultimately lost the ability to communicate or breathe independently. His death posed a challenge to the investigation and the search for Elizabeth's abductor, hindering progress and casting doubt on other leads. In August 2002, an 11-year-old girl was sexually assaulted and beaten after being taken from her bedroom, sustaining severe injuries including multiple facial fractures. The assailant, Javier Sickler, a close friend of the girl's father, was arrested and charged with aggravated burglary, assault, and attempted murder. Despite initial similarities with Elizabeth's abduction, police determined Sickler had no involvement. As months passed with no sign of Elizabeth, police turned to unconventional methods, including psychics claiming to locate her. However, these efforts yielded no concrete leads. In November 2002, Walter Kenneth Holloway was arrested for extortion, falsely claiming to be Elizabeth's kidnapper and demanding ransom. Despite diversions caused by false claims, the search for Elizabeth continued. In October 2002, Elizabeth's sister, Mary Catherine, identified Emmanuel, a brief worker for the family, as the abductor's voice. Though skeptics questioned the validity of Mary Catherine's revelation, a sketch of Emmanuel was released in February 2003. The sketch led to the identification of Brian David Mitchell, who was spotted with Elizabeth in Sandy, Utah, by two couples on March 12th. Police were alerted, and Elizabeth was rescued, revealing harrowing details of her abduction, abuse, and captivity. In her captivity, Elizabeth Smart encountered Wanda Barzee, the wife of Brian David Mitchell, who played a pivotal role in her ordeal. Initially, Barzee assumed a maternal role, offering comfort to Elizabeth. However, her demeanor shifted over time as she imposed their eccentric religious beliefs on Elizabeth, coercing her into prayers, scripture readings, and rituals. One of the most traumatic events during Elizabeth's captivity was her forced marriage to Brian David Mitchell, orchestrated by Barzee, who threatened her with harm if she resisted. This ceremony, described by Mitchell as an act of eternal love, was devoid of legality and served as a symbol of Mitchell's dominance over Elizabeth. Subsequently, Mitchell assaulted Elizabeth, rationalizing his actions as part of his purported role as a Davidic king fighting against the Antichrist. Enduring unimaginable abuse, Elizabeth was physically restrained with a metal cable, rendering her mobility severely limited. Psychological torment compounded her suffering as she was coerced into adopting a new identity and subjected to repeated sexual assaults, threats of violence, and degradation. Intoxication through drugs and alcohol further weakened her resistance, leaving her vulnerable to her abuser's control. Starvation and ingestion of garbage added to her torment. Following her rescue, Elizabeth denounced Barzee as the most malevolent person she had encountered. Barzee eventually pleaded guilty to charges related to Elizabeth's abduction and received concurrent sentences in state and federal prisons. Despite protests from Elizabeth, Barzee was released in 2018, prompting concerns over public safety. Brian David Mitchell received a life sentence for his crimes, during which Elizabeth addressed him directly, expressing the irreversible impact of his actions on her life. Despite her ordeal, Elizabeth exhibited remarkable resilience, vowing to lead a positive life despite the darkness inflicted upon her. Her resilience and determination underscored her ability to overcome immense challenges. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the darker side of human nature and intrigued by the mysteries surrounding crime and murder, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest chilling cases and gripping investigations. Remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction, and there's always more to uncover. Stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.